everyone. NTL Sports Podcast here. Episode 98. Second episode of the week. You guys will see this on Thursday. Today, we got some season recaps and off-season previews, the ongoing series. We got the Trailblazers. We got the Memphis Grizzlies. And we got the Utah Jazz. Spurs, they do have the 7th pick, but we already covered the Spurs, so we're just going to skip on to the next available team. And then we'll probably throw in a little bit of rapid fire at the end. But anyways, with all that being said, please stay tuned. To kick off season previews, season reviews, our ongoing series. Like I said earlier in the intro, we got the Trailblazers, we got the Grizzlies, and we got the Utah Jazz. I would say probably, one team is god awful. We already know that.
Mm-hmm.
They had a horrible trade. Didn't benefit them in the slightest, right? And then we got the Memphis Grizzlies, who, for whatever reason, had the bad luck charm, right, Lawrence? Injuries on injuries on injuries. Who got hurt all year? Started with Ja with the suspension, and then he came back for like 9-10 games, got hurt, and then Desmond Bane, right?
I'm pretty sure Desmond Bane was the only one there for the majority of the season. The rest of it was just filling. At one point they had an entire lineup. It was the only one that was there was Jaren Jackson Jr. The rest of the team was three-way players.
Yeah, I think they
two-way players.
They even started out the season. Steven Adams, I think he was the first one actually to go down. He messed up his shoulder, right, and couldn't play for the whole year. And then they eventually got rid of him. So Grizzlies just bad luck here. We have the Utah Jazz. They're sellers, right? They started selling last year after they started off pretty hot. They just been selling ever since. They just they're looking for the future, right? So, with all that being said, let's get into this. First team I have pulled up right here. I think the team that picks first is the Blazers. So let's go with the Blazers. Like I said earlier, poverty franchise. Don't like them for whatever reasons. You guys probably already know. But I think they pick. They're at number 7, right? No, yeah, they have the 7th pick. Just want to confirm, as you can see right here, they have the 7th pick. They got number 14 via Golden State. I think that's from the Gary Payton III trade, because I think he went to Portland and then they traded back for him. So I think that's what that pick is from. And then you got some second rounders in there. So they got a bunch of picks. Their GM is probably not the best one to be making these picks. Basing off of some of his trades. They got a lot of young players. Lawrence, they got Scoot, who I would say probably didn't have a good rookie year. They got Shadon Sharp, Jabari Walker. They still got Brogdon, who he played for a little bit last year, but I don't think he played very well. They got Time Lord, and unfortunately they got DeAndre Ayton. They got stuck with that contract. I don't think he had that good of a year either. So, Lawrence, how would you grade their regular season? And what do they have going for them heading into the offseason?
The only thing they have for them is their lack of defense, but great three-point shooting ability. That's pretty much all they have. Because Jeremy Grant can shoot the ball at pretty much a 40%. Simmons can shoot it almost at a 40%. I think something they're going to have to do is they're going to have to, I don't know if there's a way to go, probe into someone's brain, but they got to reprogram Matisse Thybulle to actually shoot the ball every once in a while. Because sometimes in games he looks pretty decent. He can score some points. He can be actual asset to the team. Otherwise, he's just irrelevant and he's just there for defense purposes, which isn't very ideal. But it says Thybulle shot 35% from the 3-point arc. That's pretty decent. 35 is not a too shabby of a number. So they just got to get him to shoot the ball a little more. His free throw percentage is really high. You're gonna have to get him to attack the lane a little more, and he shoots from the field at 40%. So if you're going to try to make a move and try to make this team better, like you're going to have to get the guys that you have a little bit more effective. And I think that's one of those is Thibault, because pretty much he's going to have to be in your starting unit because your defense is so bad. Among Simmons, Scoot, and countless others they have on that team. I think it's probably best if you let Grant walk. Not really walk, but you let him get a trade that he's probably wanted for Malia now. I don't think Grant wants to be there any longer. As far as Brogdon, I don't know how Brogdon feels. Brogdon might not. Doesn't Brogdon have a ring, so he probably doesn't care too hard.
I think he
wasn't part of that. Bucks.
I think they got rid of him.
So unfortunately, he wasn't part of that. But honestly, I don't really know how to read. The worst thing to say is I don't know how to make this team better. I mean, the thing is, the team needs a whole overhaul. In the way that they were moving the team, the direction they went, it just felt like they were just trying to be the goody for the rest of the league. But yeah, we'll take your bad contract. Yeah, we'll take your bad contract. Yeah, we'll take your bad contract. Now you're just stuck with a team full of bad contracts and no one really to put out in the court to compete with.
Yeah, I agree with you. They took on a lot of bad contracts, especially in those two trades that they, from the Dame trade and then the Drew Holiday trade. I think even the
Lillard trade was trash.
They were a part of the Beal trade, right? Because they took back Ayton, so they were a part of that as well. So, like you said, yeah, they for whatever reason were receptive to a lot of other teams besides one in Southern Florida. So, for whatever reasons, will be unknown. But you're right; they got bad contracts, Lawrence. They're up against the first apron, so you're a bad team, and you're about to be in a luxury tax. Not the place where you want to be. So they got some work cut out for them. Like you said, Lawrence, they got people who probably overstayed their welcome. Jeremy Grant, they still honored the contract that they gave him last offseason, even though they traded, Dame Lillard. So he would probably be my first, player to get moved. They got to get off of that big money. Then second, I would say, we can just take a look at the roster, but they want to have to figure out the guards. You can't have Sharp, you can't have Simons, you can't have Scoot. You can't have all three, man. You're gonna have to pick between, two out of the three, which two that you think can carry you into the future. My best guess is they probably try to move off of Simons because he has the bigger contract, right? It just makes sense. Maybe an up-and-coming contender just takes a chance on him. Simons, he had good numbers last year, I feel like, when he played.
Yeah, he did.
What he averaged, 22, almost 4 rebounds, almost 6 assists on 43% shooting. Not terrible. On a good team, Lawrence, you probably figure he probably still shoots about 20 points a game and probably still gets you 6 or 7 assists. Maybe that field goal percentage goes up because he's not taking bad shots because his teammates are just throwing him the ball at the last second, right?
I think he just needs to be on a team that can play defense. Like if Simons goes to, we'll just throw a team out there like the Rockets. If Simon goes to the Rockets, I don't think we're having. I think this is a different discussion. I think Simons is either a 6-man and he comes off the bench and he's just too big of a handful for other teams, or he's kind of he would be. You could also consider him a 6-man, but kind of like a Ginobili kind of player on the Rockets, where he'll play 4 different positions: point guard, shooting guard, and if you have to, small forward, just to have him out there to have some guy rest for 2 minutes, and just let him score. Because the Rockets, like Fred VanVleet's not great on defense, but he just stays on you and he's tenacious. Brooks is really good at defense. The teams and Jalen Green will play defense. The team is built to have a guy like Simmons come on that team. So if you're the Trailblazers, feeding a team like the Rockets, it's not the end of the world to you. Yeah, it's going to a Western Conference team, but they're not in the same what do you call it, conference division. So it's not going to really affect them the whole bunch. And then you just kind of work from there. I mean, honestly, to get the team moving and going, you're going to have to move half the players anyways, because they're going to be so disgruntled and waiting for a rebuild. And there's guys on here who don't have time to wait for a rebuild. And Simons is probably one of those guys that doesn't have time to wait for a rebuild. I mean, he's kind of about to hit his prime. He's about to hit his peak.
I think ESPN said he's 24. So yeah, he's in that window, right?
Yeah, he's about to peak. He's about 25 to 30. He's about to hit his golden years, and you don't want to be in your golden years in Portland the way this team is now. Jeremy Grant definitely wants out. I mean, and honestly, Jeremy Grant going to a different team could be to what others look at is like a PJ Washington going to the Mavs. And he's a really good player on a really bad team. Gets overshadowed by the league because no one sees him, and he can play two ways. He can play defense. He can play offense. And Jeremy Grant would be one of those guys as well as PJ Washington has in this postseason. And if you look at the Timberwolves series, he was pretty dominant for a few games. He pretty much won them a whole entire game by himself, scoring 29 points. Jeremy Grant can score 29 points.
Yeah. You're
going to have to move off some guys to allow more guys to flourish. This is the vein of this team.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just but Portland has to go young, get rid of the big contracts, and then just go from there. I think third person probably look at is Brogdon. He does still have some value. But whether that's during this off season or maybe at the trade deadline in February, we'll see if when he ends up getting moved. But it will happen this season because I think he's up for extension, and I don't think they are in the business of extending vets. They don't really, like I said, they got too many guards. It's a log jam there, so I don't think they're in the business of doing that. But let's move on for Portland. Next team we got is Memphis, y'all. Let's share this. Memphis at the 9th pick. They record wasn't the best, 25-55. Bad luck.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the team, and I think we'll see a big change next year with the Grizzlies. There's nothing wrong with the team. It's really just the whole team was injured, and I mean honestly, you just kind of have to say like shit happens. That's just the best way. That's the best phrase you can ever say to it. This team this season was literally just shit happens, and honestly, you could honestly say that if the Grizzlies went on to be fighting for the number 1 or 2 seed next year, I don't think anyone would be shocked. I know I wouldn't be, because you have all these two-way players who basically just filled out your season, who have great experience now. They had to play 36 minutes a game, and then you're going to push them to play, 12 minutes a game. They're going to excel way harder in those 12 minutes against the second string guys that they should have been playing against while they were playing against the first team guys. So, like some guys like Gigi Jackson, is probably going to be really good next year for this team. He's probably going to be a little electric spark off the bench, and especially if he can, have some fun. And if he's ever on TNT, he probably won't be starting on the bench. He'll be starting straight off for the team. And Brandon Clark, I mean, when he comes back, I don't think he'll be having that 6-man role anymore. He's gonna be the 7th man behind Gigi. And there's just guys on here who are probably gonna get paid because of what they did during this season. I remember there's like one guy from Richmond, University of Richmond. He played for the team for about 10 or 12 weeks. Didn't finish the season with them, but he was effective in some of his games. But I just think that the experience some of these guys got, and then pretty much having your whole entire starting lineup come back next year. If this team wins 60 games, 52. No, it's the West. It's the West. It's the West. If this team wins 58 games, 57 games, it easy can happen.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely have the potential, right? Marcus Smart is going to come back. Jaw's going to come back ready. When he's healthy, I mean, he's pretty much unstoppable. I think the biggest thing for him is get his 3-point shooting consistently. Because that's probably, if he has a weakness, I think that's the 3-point shooting is his weakness. Like I said, they got Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane is coming back, Jaren Jackson Jr. He's going to come back, better than ever. Another weakness I think for the team is starting center. You lost Steven Adams. You traded him away. It's more of a financial move because they were going to be, pretty deep in the luxury tax. Right now, they're kind of flirting with the luxury tax. They got 2 free agents. Kennard, I think, is probably going to come back. Watanabe, I think he said he's going to go play in Japan. I think he already said that on like social media or something. So I don't know why that's right there. Pretty much confirmed that he's going to not play in the NBA next season. So maybe they use their pick on a shooter like a Watanabe, but they have Kennard, so you really don't need to go search for a shooter in the draft. You pretty much can just use the pick on best available. But they do need maybe not starting center, but they do need probably a backup center. They sent out Xavier Tillman, senior, to the Celtics, so that was their backup center. So you're pretty much relying on Jaren Jackson Jr. to be your starting center, even though it's probably more for power forward, right? So if you can solidify that backup role, that's probably the one concern I have for the Grizzlies. But other than that, I think you're right. I wouldn't be surprised if they win 55, 56 games, probably even more than that, because they showed us 2 years ago that they were able to do that. I think they were second in the West 2 years ago, right? When they played the Lakers.
I think the team. I think all they need is a rebounder. That's all they need. So the biggest pet peeve with me for Jaren Jackson is man doesn't get rebounds.
I think it's a lot of people's pet peeve about him.
He doesn't get rebounds. You're that tall and you get that many blocks, but you can't get a rebound. And I mean that was Steven Adams' role. Like, okay, you score maximum 4 points, but you give me 18 rebounds. That's all I need you to do. I honestly, in this draft, it would be a stretch to take him, but the guy from UConn, the big man, like I don't know his name, like
I think it's Donovan Clinnigan or something like that.
The giant center, the giant man. Just take him, or take him later on. Just take him at any point, because that's all that guy did at UConn was get rebounds. He didn't do anything else but get rebounds.
Donovan Clingan, yeah.
Yep. Just get rebounds. Get a guy to get rebounds. That's all you need.
Do you think he'll be there at number 9?
Yeah, probably. Because honestly, the way everyone speculates this draft going, which, that's all we can do is speculate, everyone's going in the Europeans. Like, everyone's talking about the Europeans and the G Leaguers and not the G Leaguers, the Ignite League? NBA Ignite. It's the last season for it, so they're talking about that and the Europeans. Just get the guy out of college whose whole entire role was rebound. And that's all you need him. Like, Steven Adams won you games when he scored 4 points and got 18 rebounds. That's literally all you need. It doesn't even matter. Go out and get Zach Edey in like the second round with the last pick. Just tell him to walk out there and get a rebound. I don't care if you score 2 points. Get a rebound. That's all I want. Jaren Jackson is going to get the points for you. Just get a rebound.
Yeah, he's unreliable in rebounds. It was a big issue. Remember during the FIBA World Cup where Steve Kerr would just pull him at the end of the games because he's just going for any and all pump fakes and failing to go grab a rebound instead. Just, take your big ass down there and just box somebody out and grab a rebound, bro. Stop trying to swat. You don't have to go for every single shot, all right? Hopefully he's matured enough to the point that, whoever – I forget the Grizzlies head coach, but hopefully he can talk some sense into him and say, hey, man, if you can just get us 8 or 9 rebounds, you don't even have to do double digits, bro. But if you can get 7, 8 rebounds a game, that would be huge because, like you said, it's probably going to be a rookie. you know, who they asked to fill that role, and it's going to be hard for rookie to come in and adjust. And you asking him to grab 10 rebounds his rookie season, don't you think so?
I
Yeah,
mean, Lively could do it. Was it likely for
lively. Yeah,
Lively?
Dallas.
He's getting rebounds. He did it throughout the season. That's all you need. You just need a guy to get rebounds because the rest of the team is built to do it. They just need
Mm-hmm.
some guy to get boards. And that was the worst thing about Jaren Jackson Jr. on the men's national team. It was they used him as starting center, and then the best part is like you look at the rest of the roster and there's just no centers on the roster. It's like, oh, we're just gonna go power forward and small forwards and call it a day. And then you just watch Valanciunas just destroy everyone. It kind of makes you sad that you ever let Valanciunas, if you're the Grizzlies, walk, um, or you didn't keep him. Because I
Getting
mean,
people, yeah.
honestly, with the roster they have and having Valanciunas give you 10 and 10 minimum, 10 and 10, it sounds really like a luxury at this point.
Yeah, can't disagree with you right there. Let's move on to the Jazz, our last team, y'all. Um, Decent season. Like I said, they were sellers. The trade deadline. 31-51, number 10 pick, number 29, and number 32. So 2 picks in the first, one in the early second. This year, the draft is split into 2 days for whatever reason. They got some free agents. THT, Chris Dunn, some of these other guys I never really heard of. Lawrence, what would you grade their season? And what do you think they should be looking to do this offseason?
So pre All-Star break, it was probably a B plus. And then as soon as the All-Star break happened, and then the rest of the season went on, it was definitely finished off as like a C minus to a D. Because I mean they were in the pedal to the metal. I think they went on like a 11-game win streak or something like that. I mean they just looked amazing. They had one of the best records, and then they fell off so hard. And honestly, it's kind of it just comes down to the fact that there's no star on the team, and how you're going to get yourself a star based on the contracts you have locked up is a little bit of a question mark. And maybe that's a mean way to say it. There are stars on the team. There's no superstar on the team. There's no guaranteed bucket getter guy. And the fact that like you have Jordan Clarkson in there, but you learn towards halfway through the season that like you can't start with Jordan Clarkson. He's gonna have to be our sixth man. But then you look at this team overall, and it's like this team isn't at the point in its time in which a sixth man is like incredibly important. Winning and being inside winning and being inside of a game is more important, and our starting unit is not good enough at that point. So whether or not they can make a big push this offseason for a superstar or draft some great players is the main question for them. I think Keontae George did a good job moving into the point guard role. Colin Sexton in and out of the lineup always hurt, but when he's effective, he's effective. But like I said, hurt. Lauri Markkanen, I don't know. See, they have Lauri Markkanen as an all-star. See, he was an all-star pre-All-Star break. Post-All-Star break, where'd he go? He just wasn't there. Walker Kessler, obviously, I think he was pretty much very improved. Did pretty well. But then again, you look at it right there. And you're walking into the season with John Collins as your starting center. Got big problems. You got big problems. John Collins should be no more than a power forward. But yeah, I don't know. There's just like certain things about the team. They're just missing pieces and important roles, and I don't know. It's like they only did good at home. One of those teams like post All-Star break. This team was unreliable, pretty much all top to bottom. The only thing you can rely on is Keontae George getting 20 points, And that was it. No, that
Yeah.
was the only thing you could rely on was Keontae Jordan, and that's because they played him 40 minutes a game. They were like, we suck. Just throw the rookie out there and let him learn.
Yeah. Can't disagree with you there. I think that the Jazz, for me, like you said, they probably got to figure out some of these contracts. Yeah, Jordan Clarkson's probably good as a six man, but in the space that you're at right now, where you kind of, you're later in the draft in the lottery, so it doesn't really make sense to have a six man right now unless you're going to make a major leap. And I just think that, even though they have a lot of picks, is your team really set up to go make a splash and then be able to compete like in the top of the West? Because the West is brutal. We've seen it. The West is brutal. Yeah, Laurie Markin is an all star, but let's just say, for example, you go, I don't know, maybe you go get Jalen Green from the Rockets or somebody. Like, is that really going to put you over the top? Like, is that going to make you competitive in the West? No. I mean, you could throw any all star caliber player out there with all those picks that that they've been able to acquire the past couple of years. I don't think it does much for them. So I think they still got a couple more years of just drafting and hoping some of these guys pan out. The roster is starting to shape up, but I think it's a little bit too early to be talking about using some of these assets. So I would probably move off of Jordan Clarkson, send him to a contender. That's probably what he wants anyway. He's got his bag. Now let's move him on.
Mm-hmm.
Get some assets for him. John Collins, there's reports that they're trying to move him already, even though they just traded from last season. Kind of makes sense. You probably want Walker Kessler, your starting center. Like you said, John Collins as your starting center. It's not a good vibe right there. Even though he played well, last season, on a team full of younger players, you probably don't want that. And then I guess from there you just gotta hope and pray that you keep drafting well. You get the 10th picks. You later in the lottery. This draft is kind of wish washy about excuse me, some of the prospects. So maybe not this draft, but maybe if you keep selling next year's draft, where you got Cooper Flag and some of these other high profile guys, maybe if you can get into the top three, then we're starting to talk. Okay, Jazz are starting to build even more steadily towards the future. So that's what I would look at. Other than that, for the Jazz, I don't expect any different approaches from the past 2 years. Danny Ainge is known to just acquire assets and steadily build. You saw the job he did with the Celtics after the big three left. He traded them off to the Nets, and how quick of a turnaround that took for them to be competitive again. So I would say he's probably on maybe a somewhat slower pace with the Jazz, but eventually he'll get them there.
My thing with the John Collins, right? I think is a good piece to move, and I think there's a plethora of teams that could actually use his services as a more physical power forward, fight around the paint kind of a player. And then when you think about a team who could afford his contract, who could use his services, and he could be the most effective in. And then you look around the league, and where could you send John Collins? And then one of the places that appears to me that you could send him and where you should send him is like the OKC Thunder. But my only problem with the Thunder is, and the only problem with the Collins is, do I think it's kind of one of those like Gafford and PJ Washington kind of deals. Do I think I'll bring them in, and then like the ability to compete and go for a title, is that going to change who John Collins is? Because personally, he's always been kind of on bad teams. He's been on bad Hawk teams who made the postseason because the East is so bad. Now you're in the West and it's harder to compete there, but the Thunder could really use you. Like honestly, they don't really have a great power forward. They kind of have space fillers in that role.
Yeah,
and you could be a really good asset to them. And you have a plethora of knowledge being in the league for a while. However, you haven't really made the greatest name for yourself by being like the best and the best, or top tier or top echelon it just kind of goes both ways with him, and it's kind of like, okay, the Thunder want to go out there and try to change their team just a little bit to add a veteran who hasn't really pushed the button or pushed, I guess, too hard. But the rebound numbers that you're showing now and the field goal percentage you're showing now, and honestly, the points per game, he could score less points than that per game and he'd still be effective. But it's just I don't know. I think it's the spacing on the floor would be really effective for the Thunder. Because, Shea Gilgeous could easily pass in the ball as he drives into the lane, give John Collins easy basket. And then you let John Collins do that 2 or 3 times, and you're like, oh man, we got to switch our role on him a little bit. We got to target him more. Oh man, we just left the lane open for Shea just to easily just dunk on us. I think that's the kind of role he does.
I think you're onto something. I think I never thought about that, but he's on a similar timeline. Like, he's a little bit older than these guys, so he would be the vet, but he's still on a younger timeline. They do need a power forward. The points could more or less fluctuate. If they need him to score more, he could. If they need him to score less and just focus on rebounding, hit a 3 every once in a while, he could. I think that could work, honestly. The Thunder, if anything, they need a power forward. So, maybe that's one place that the Jazz will look towards. But yeah, I think they gotta move John Collins, and the rumors are suggesting that they're trying to. So,
I mean, they like picks, and the Thunder have picks still. So,
yeah, it's about time for them to cash in their picks because they got. Like I said, they got a plethora, and they got a cash in.
And they got a potential too. And the biggest part is they were the number 1 seed, which means you easily can do it again. You have the talent to do it again, and your talent's not leaving you. The Thunder are not going to be gutted this season. They're going to pretty much keep their team. Yep. Now the whole point is fill the roles that you need to fill with guys that are actually going to, and improve it. Because no offense, but you can't run it back the same way because. If you run it back the same way you did the year before, you're just the Denver Nuggets this season, and we saw how far they got. They ran it back the same way, except they kind of offloaded a little more instead of added.
Yeah, the West is too brutal for you to stay pat and just think that another year of experience is going to get you over the hump. You got to always look to improve. I think that's all we got for the off season previews and season reviews. Few more notes. I think the NBA is about to finalize their new media deal, Lawrence. $76 billion deal with ESPN, NBC, and Amazon.
Trash.
I think each of the networks is giving them the NBA like $2 billion per year. I want to say Amazon, the new partner, has the in-season tournament. I think they're going to have their own day of the week that they stream games. I'm assuming it's going to be on Prime TV, and then they're going to have the play-in tournament. So I guess that's good for the NBA. Do you have any thoughts about the official announcement?
I don't like it because they took away NBA on TNT.
Yeah, we still have one more season of that, but Charles said he's looking to see if he can keep the crew together and license it out to, I guess, either NBC or Amazon. We'll see.
The best bet is Amazon because
they don't have anybody. I was talking to my boss the other day about it. He was like, if they get Amazon, who are they going to have to commentate? Because NBC is just going to poach the TNT people. Like Amazon's going to start from scratch.
Yeah, well, the NBC, so TNT is part of TBS and True TV, which is a part of CBS, as we know. Because, NCAA tournament and all that. So technically those guys all have a contract with CBS, which would make it kind of hard to make deals with ESPN or NBC because ESPN is ABC and NBC. Yeah. So the only one they can easily do a deal with is Amazon, in which if Amazon is streaming, well, streaming things let people get away with saying a little bit more, which will allow Shaq, Kenny, and Chuck to pretty much say whatever they want. A little bit more so than they do on TNT now.
Just imagine them throwing F bombs and saying this and saying that. Dear Lord.
Oh, if Chuck is allowed to cuss, it's gonna be a great time.
Yeah, I just hopefully they can keep the crew together, whether it's going to be on NBC or Amazon. But like you just put it, it's probably more likely that they just keep the crew and take them to Amazon. I guess NBC will see what kind of commentators they can grab together. It looks like they're going to probably start from scratch. But
NBC is definitely going to start from scratch, and it's going to be kind of weird because it's going to be kind of wonky because NBC in the past used to do hockey, and now hockey's on ESPN with ESPN Plus. So there might be old hockey heads that know basketball that we're going to be hearing commentate or have the precursor to it. So we also might see Bob Costas come back because Bob Costas still has the contract with NBC. And honestly, a show run for the NBA, and like if Bob Costas is like an Eddie or not an Eddie, Ernie kind of role, that'd be kind of nice. See Bob Costas come back like that.
NBC did have NBA back in the day, but I guess they kind of lost their pitch to TNT. So I guess it's just it's their turn again to take the mantle from TNT. But I guess we'll see how it goes. And I imagine some of the games might be on Peacock exclusive, so just be ready for that. We already know that's probably going to be part of the deal as well. Only other thing I had, Lawrence, Browns extend Kevin Stefanski and the GM. Any thoughts about that? I know, wasn't Kevin Stefanski the coach of the year?
I think it was either last year or the year before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfectly fine. I mean, the Browns are actually winning games. They're competing for playoffs. You do what you do to keep the guys there. And at this point, you kind of put them in their place and you make them eat. I guess the best way to say is eat dirt that they've put in their mouths. Because it's either going to work out or it's going to fail super hard in their face with the whole Deshaun Watson. Because now we're getting the rumors is like, does Deshaun Watson even want to play, or is he just like the money? Because every year he just gets hurt, and it's like he's really hurt. And you watch Baker Mayfield leave you, and Baker Mayfield's actually making the playoffs again. So now you look like an idiot for moving off that one. But you're the two idiots that did it, so you either fix it or you die in the fire that you created.
I couldn't agree more. So we'll see. They can keep their good luck streak going. But that's all I had, Lawrence. Did you have anything you wanted to add before we head on out?
One last take. I think the UFC card this weekend will be kind of fun. It's a fight night, like we know. So fight nights, typically fight nights have a lot of cool things happen because it gives the people a chance to actually prove who they are. And I'm kind of gonna go straight into it with a little parlay that I believe will happen. Ooh. And I'm going to go with Mora. So the last fight on the prelims, you got Mora. She's 10-0 versus Gomez. I'm going to take Mora. I'm going to keep her undefeated streak alive on her UFC debut.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to jump back over to the main card. I'm going to take, I think it's Ferreira. I'm going to take him in the main card. He's 11-1. He's fighting Bruno. He's fighting Dustin. I don't think Dustin's that great. He's kind of mediocre. But he does like to take down a lot. Bruno has been proven to be able to stop takedowns. But Bruno needs to prove himself a little bit more in the UFC. So this is a great chance for him to prove that. And then we're going to finish it off with a little bit of an upset. I'm going to take Reyes to beat Jacoby as the final one. That's my little baby parlay. Finish it off with the underdog. Have two favorites before it. Hope the underdog comes through. If the underdog doesn't come through, you curse him to high hell.
Nice. And this is in Kentucky. Wow. I don't think have they ever been to Louisville for a fight night? I don't think so.
Not to my knowledge, but I'm kind of liking that the UFC's bouncing on a little bit more instead of just sticking to the Apex. Because they went to the Apex because of COVID. Now they're starting to actually bounce around a little bit more. I mean, soon like the Whitaker versus Chamev fight is going to be in Saudi Arabia. Then they're going to bounce back to Nevada for McGregor Chandler, which we don't even know if that one's happening anymore. There was a little sus coming out of that. So,
can you elaborate on that? I saw a story about that today, but I didn't really dive deep into that.
So they don't. So for first things, they hadn't filled the whole card yet. So top to bottom, the card isn't fully filled. Second is I don't know what it is. I think this Conor McGregor might have an injury, but they haven't disclosed that. And I think they're trying to keep that at wraps, whether or not they can figure out if he can make it or not. And then the only reason it's not anywhere, but the big thing was the pay-per-view is no longer purchasable right now. They took the pay-per-view down for purchasing.
Oh,
which they may or may not have to move it from a pay-per-view if they can't fill the card, or if McGregor can't fight. If McGregor can't fight, it's no longer a pay-per-view event. Like, the whole reason it's a pay-per-view event is because of McGregor.
Yeah.
Because no offense, but Jamal Hill isn't bringing in big bucks anymore after he got knocked out in 2 seconds by Alex Pereira.
Oh, yeah, that's after that fight, yeah, he's not gonna...
He's going to have to work his way back up a little bit.
Damn, so they might have to... Do you think they'll end up moving 303, or will that night just be a fight night?
It might shift to a fight night, or it might stay at 303, but it's like non-pay-per-view. Because the only weird thing is, if you go look at the 303 and you look at 304, 304 is way more filled out than 303. And 304 is not until July 27th, and June 29th is for 303. So the fact that 303 is less filled than 304, and 304 is literally almost a month and a half away, something's wrong. Something just doesn't add up.
And here's the fight card right here. Yeah, it's not really filled out like you said. 4 main events, 4 prelims, and 4 early prelims? Yeah, that's not the normal size, right?
It's not a normal size for a pay-per-view. But if you hop over to 304, it's more full, which is odd. I guess is the best way to put it.
We got Edwards versus Muhammad.
And they have 2
2 title fights.
Yeah, 2 title fights.
Wow, yeah, this is way more. I mean, even look at the early prelims. I mean, that's, way more filled out. And I imagine they would add some more prelims right there. Have they ever done a non-pay-per-view numbered UFC event?
They did back in the day. But no, they would the only problem is, when you move it from 303, then you have to change UFC 304 to 303, and then you basically went a whole month without a main card. I don't know. It's just Dana White's going to figure something out. He always does.
Yeah.
What'll probably end up happening is he has to find someone to cover who is top tier echelon in order to make it work. But he also is going to have to figure out how to fill that main event. He's going to have to fill the main event with people that you're going to want to pay to watch. But it's hard to fill that main event when there's only like 4 weeks until it happens.
Yeah, not a lot of time, honestly. So we'll see what they do. I know the UFC is not about losing money; they're all about making money. So, like I said, Dana White, he'll figure something out. That's all I got, Lawrence. Other than the UFC, anything else?
No, that's all I got for you.
That's all we got, folks. We'll see you next week. MTL Sports Podcast, y'all. Episode 98. We'll catch up with you guys on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. And thank you for watching. For all that being said, we'll see you next week.